everyone, my name is Jorge Rosas. I'm very glad to be here with you today to talk about inclusion and agility. Well, we live challenging times. During the last months, the whole world faced a very difficult moment due to the COVID-19 crisis in an environment known as a VUCA environment, which is volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous, but also quite dangerous. Yes, during the last months, fear was king. And to talk about agility, disruption, and innovation, we need to talk about fears, because the main stopper of innovation, agility, and disruption is precisely fear. Yeah. So, in order to know more about this, I found Dr. Elizabeth Kobler-Ross. She conducted an investigation around fears. She asked, what are the greatest fears and what are the greatest regrets? What would you say? What are the greatest fears? Well, based on her investigation, she concluded that the greatest fears are fear of the unknown, fear of failure, and fear of death, in this order. If you think about this, all these three fears were present during the COVID-19 crisis. Sales went down, business activities stopped suddenly, and we required heroes. Heroes wanted, yes, doctors, nurses, to preserve our lives, to save our lives, and to preserve our health. We will talk about a different type of heroes a little bit later, but now it is time to come back. It is time to get up, because the world is changing. The world is changing, so we need to reinvent our business. We need to break our old beliefs. We require new perspectives to do that. We require inclusive leaders and agile teams. In this conversation, I will demonstrate how inclusive leaders create agile teams. So pay attention. Let's get started. Let's start with diversity, equity, and inclusion. And let me tell you a story. When I was a kid, I went to the beach with my parents. My dad approached me and he asked, "Hey, what are you doing?" I was actually building a little castle in the sand. He said, "Wow, you did that by yourself?" And I was like, yes, I did that by myself. I was so proud, and he was so proud too. But now, when I think about that moment, I ask myself, why is it always like that? Why we overvalue individual performance? That is true at school, at work, everywhere. We overvalue individual performance. Let me tell you about an analysis made by Sean Ackert in his book, Big Potential. He analyzed two institutions, Harvard and Google. He tried to find what was that common aspect that the best talent, the best potentials, the best performers had in both institutions. He ran many different analyses with all the brilliant data that these institutions had. So, what would you say? What is that common factor that top performers have? No, it is not IQ. No. It is not previous experience. The common factor is connections. Yes, connections. Those individuals with the best connections were the top performers in both institutions. Those individuals who participated in employee resource groups at Google, for example, in fraternities at Harvard, were the ones with the best scores, with the best performance. So this theory that says survival of the fittest is wrong. It is not the survival of the fittest. It is the survival of the best fit. The power of connections. If you are the smartest person in the room, that's bad news for you. If you are surrounded by smart and brilliant people, they will expand your limits. So, this is the biggest lie in history of life. Self-made man and self-made woman. There is no such a thing as a self-made man or woman. You are always depending on others, on the different perspectives of others, the ideas, the thoughts, the angles, everything that other people give you in your life are the things that help you to become what you are now. Okay? So, let me talk about the difference between diversity and inclusion. And in order to do that, we bring here Jane Silver. She gives a wonderful explanation of these two concepts. The difference between diversity and inclusion is being invited to a house and being able to rearrange the furniture. So it's not the same thing, right? It's quite different. But those companies working on diversity, equity, and inclusion, they have great business performance. They are 6 times more agile, 6 times more innovative, 3 times they have higher productivity, and 2 times they meet or exceed the financial goals. So in the overall, they have 8 times better business outcomes. So it's business wise to invest your time, your money, and your efforts on diversity, equity, and inclusion. Now, let me explain the difference between equality and equity. As you can see here, equality is giving everyone the same conditions. Equity is giving everyone the same opportunities. You want to give the members of the team the same opportunities, not the same conditions, because they are different. So they have different conditions, or they need different conditions in order to perform great, right? So you want to give them the same opportunities. And that's the main difference. Now, if you want to develop a strong and compelling program around diversity, equity, and inclusion, you need to consider 3 aspects. First one, the workforce, then the workplace, and the marketplace. The workforce is the different dimensions of people working in your company. The workplace is your culture, the speak-up culture, in which everyone can participate and speak freely about their thoughts. And the marketplace is how can you reflect your base of customers inside of your company with the base of employees that you may have, okay? So those 3 things are crucial and relevant. And you need to work in all the different dimensions, not only about gender or generation that are absolutely crucial and very important, but also there are many other different dimensions that you need to consider. Ethnicity, location, age, there are many different dimensions that you need to consider as part of your programs. In ESPN, as you know, ESPN is part of the Walt Disney Company. I used to work there a couple of years ago. I left the company just a couple of years ago. And when I worked as diversity and inclusion global director, we defined diversity like this. Diversity is about who is on the team. Inclusion is about who gets to play. This company, the Walt Disney Company, earned several distinctions for the best practices that they implemented around diversity, equity, and inclusion like this. It was a very relevant company in that moment, and it was crucial that how leaders participated in those programs, such as this example. In this company, Alibaba in Asia, the CEO, Jack Ma, said that he always paid attention to those individuals that were frequently criticized by the rest of the group. So he thought that these guys were watching the world in a different way. So the perspectives that they may have were valuable. The diversity creates economic value. The NASA, they also think like that. They believe that inclusion reduces the risk. They have a theory that says that you need to have a 10th passengers. So if 9 passengers say, let's go this way, there should be the 10th passenger who says, no, let's reconsider that, let's go the other way. Why? Why is that? Just to make the rest reconsider what they are thinking, what they are deciding. And that's crucial. That's very important to avoid mistakes and reduce and minimize risks. Another example of the Walt Disney Company, Star Wars. Do you remember this famous and popular quote? May the force be with you, young Skywalker. Remember that? Well, the original version of that famous quote was like this. May the force of others be with you. The force of others. And this is the main difference. The power of one versus the power of others. Your own potential, your own limits, instead of the potential that their group give to the rest of the group. You know, the power of others is always better. You will always perform great if you consider the power of others. Okay, so let's talk now about business agility. How to become an agile company. That's the main question I receive from CEOs now. And let's define that, okay? So business agility is the ability to adapt quickly and effectively to all forms of changes in the operative environment. So you may say, hey, For me, it's not that easy. It's very difficult for me to change. It's very difficult to me to transform my own company or transform my business. That it's impossible. Let me tell you this. It's not impossible. Every single activity, every single business or industry can be transformed with agility. And if you don't believe that, please take a look at this video. How about that? As you could see here, he reinvented the way in which he was competing. He assumed some risks. That's something that you need to do. If you want to transform your business with agility, you need to assume some risk and transform the way in which you compete. You can decide to be the one transforming yourself, or you can decide just to watch how others transform their own business. If you want to work on agility, you need to define an MVP strategy, a minimum viable product, a product that you can launch, test, and adjust with the market, with your customers, listening to their opinions in order to make quick adjustments. That is crucial if you want to work in agility. Okay? So, there is an agile people manifesto that gives you the rules of agility. I just want to focus my attention today to one of them, which is related to diversity. So they say that agile people embrace diversity and embrace diversity. They are strongly connected. Agility and diversity are strongly related and strongly connected, and we will show you how. Okay? Agility programs draw their power promoting values like courage, openness, respect, and equality. Okay? So these are core values of the agility programs: courage, openness, respect, and equality. As you can see, there's an acronym there. So courage, why? Because conflicts are not avoided. You embrace conflict. It's part of their DNA. Openness, to create transparency. All information is shared with everyone. Respect, you respect everyone's skills. You let them act freely, and you respect their own ways of thinking and their ways of analyzing the information. And equality, because there are no dedicated leaders. Everyone shares the same responsibility. Okay? Let me tell you a story around agility. And don't worry, this is not the same old and boring story about Blockbuster. Don't worry. Let me show you this wonderful story, but let me ask with a question, a tough one. Are you ready to kill your baby? Don't worry, it's not a real baby, it's not a human baby. What I'm talking about is those things that made you successful in the past. Are you ready to let them go? Are you ready to reinvent your business? Are you ready to kill what made you so successful in the past? Well, let me tell you that Netflix has killed Netflix many times. They started as a logistic company. When they started, they delivered the videos through the postal service in the US. And then after some time, they were really, really successful. At some point, they decided to kill Netflix for the first time and transform the company into a technology company through the streaming. They offered this idea to Blockbuster, and they said, no, that will never work. So they decided to transform the company and kill Netflix for the first time. They became a technology company. They killed Netflix for the first time. They were the first streaming service in history. In that moment, they realized that relying exclusively on their technological advantage was actually very, very risky. So they decided to kill Netflix again, even when they were really successful. So they became a content company. They started doing content, and filming series such as Disney or Warner Brothers. They were doing exactly the same at that moment. But they decided that they need to do something different again. This was an upskilling move, but they decided to differentiate themselves from the rest of the company. So they killed Netflix again, and they became a local content company, filming movies and series all over the world. If you analyze the top 10 ranked series and movies, you will find several series filmed and movies filmed all around the world in the last year. So Netflix has killed Netflix many, many times. Agility was present. They started as a logistic company. They became a technology company, then a content company, and then a local content company, reskilling and upskilling the business. The business results were there. As you can see here, they started as a startup, and now the value of the company is higher than $200 billion. When they offered the company to Blockbuster, the value was just $50 million. They just wrote a book called That Will Never Work. Ouch. Netflix has killed Netflix several times. Be ready to kill your baby means reinventing yourself with agility. Even if you're having a lot of success, you always need to think like that. Now, let me give you a dilemma here. Agile doesn't mean diverse. Diversity may slow down agility. Agile practices are not for everybody. Constant pressure and daily stand-ups require a very specific mindset. So perhaps agility is not for everybody. So that's why may slow down agility. Okay? There are main goals in an agility team. The main purpose of an agility team is they are empowered and enabled to organize themselves to best serve their customers and continuously deliver value. That's the main and exclusive goal of an agile team. So is agile killing diversity? Agile to the rescue? Is diversity still needed? I think it is, but with 3 new approaches. The first one, bottom up. The second one, purposeful diversity. And the third one, cross-functionality. Let me explain that. Bottom up. The times of top-down corporate diversity programs seem to be over. Bottom up programs must depend on individual team members' choice, mindset, behaviors, and practices. They really need to embrace this concept and believe in the concept. Purposeful diversity is the following. A purpose-driven company attracts more talent, more top talent. That's for sure, right? That will definitely help agile teams to perform better. They need to be a talent magnet. And the only way to persuade the best to come to your organization is through their purpose. They need to see that they can meet their own purpose in your company. The third concept is cross-functionality. A team needs to have all the skills to do its job. It requires certain diversity of skills. So you need to create an environment in which everyone can participate, and that, my friends, is diversity and inclusion. Let me show you a wonderful video of a company who understood pretty well how to connect the business to the culture, okay? Please take a look at this video.
I got some safety tips that you gotta know, and trust me, it's something that you wanna hear.
So honey, sip your lips and enjoy the show before we move into the stratosphere, yeah.
So won't you buckle your seatbelt, pull it down tight, and keep your in that chair until we turn off that light. yeah. And so tonight, get ready to fly, 'cause we're gonna live it on up in the sky. Virgin America knows all the places you wanna be. Fly away with me, fly away with me.
Now that you're up in your head to the rock scene, now their eyes all glued to the flat screen. If the cabin pressure's changing, you know that we won't be leaving you hanging. Pull your mask down first, don't worry, oxygen flows. Tighten the straps after placing on your mouth and your nose. If you're traveling with someone, like a child for instance, put your mask on first before you offer resistance.
Okay, that's it. As you can see here, Virgin understood pretty well how to do it, right? They put all the different dimensions in this video so anyone can reflect with them. You know, you can find here all the different dimensions. You can find African Americans. You can find here some religious people. You can find the different generations present here. A millennial, a centennial, all of them were present here to reflect the base of their customers. Okay, so are you doing the same with your customers? Let me ask you that. Are you doing the same? All perspectives are important. All different functions in a company are important. If you are working in the HR department, you will may think very differently than those individuals working in the accounting department. So you need the different perspectives of all those individuals. Perhaps some individuals working in the main office or the branches or the subsidiaries, they may think very differently. And you need to consider all the different perspectives. That is crucial. All dimensions are important. Ethnicity, religion, generations, gender, all these generations, all these different ways of thinking, all these different types of individuals work in different ways. And how you consider them will give you the answer to the many different questions. They will help you to see your blind spots. That's the main thing here. You may think in one way, and if you only hire individuals like you, they will say, yes, sir, all the time. So you need someone with different thoughts, with different ideas to help you, to prevent you to fail. That's very, very, very important, okay? So let me tell you about a story of freedom and responsibility. Please pay attention to this video. We will see how Netflix reflected this agility in their own culture, giving the employees freedom and responsibility to act.
The biggest reason why freedom and responsibility drives the success of Netflix is it encourages us all to be big risk takers. So what does freedom and responsibility mean to me? It means three things. One, there's trust. I'm being trusted to make the right decisions in the best interest of Netflix. Number two is self-discipline. I have the self-discipline to exercise good due diligence and good judgment. And the third thing is accountability. I'm accountable for the outcomes of my decision, whether they're good or bad.
Freedom and responsibility to me is the gateway to creativity. When you have someone telling you what you can do and not what you can't do, to me, that's a very liberating framework in which to function.
What I like the most about freedom and responsibility is I think it speaks to the intelligence of people. You're trusting people by default. You step in the company, you're new, we're asking you to be thoughtful, to find the context, but actually we're giving you responsibilities, we're giving you the trust.
I think for me, I try to separate the two. I have the freedom to make the best decisions for the business, for my life, and responsibility is for me to make sure that the freedom in those decisions creates a positive impact for the business, for myself, for my family. That's how I look at it.
Freedom and responsibility means having the autonomy to make my own choices. It doesn't mean that I can do whatever I want.
It is freedom to make the right decisions for the business. It's not freedom to do what I want to do in any given moment. For me, it felt like I was being employed by somebody who recognized I was a sensible grown-up.
In many cases, we mistake having the freedom to take decisions with not having to listen to others. I think freedom and responsibility speaks about the trust that is deposited in you to make that call at the end of the day, but it should be a consequence of all those conversations we've had with your peers, not taking decisions by yourself and not considering the context and the people around you.
Freedom to do what is right for the business. Freedom and responsibility also means that you add value if you are free to be who you really are. And to talk about this concept, let me give you a wonderful example at sports, the Chicago Bulls. Have you seen The Last Dance? It was released last spring, 2020. They talk about a wonderful story on how the Chicago Bulls won 6 championships with Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan, right? But well, there was an individual called Dennis Rodman. In the words of the press, it is one of the truest moves the Bulls have ever made, or one of the dumbest. Yes, he was the most controversial star in the NBA, that's for sure. We need to admit that he was quite different. When he started playing with the team, Jordan and Pippen said, "He can help us win. We know how tough and different he is." Remember? They faced him when they played against the Detroit Pistons. They lost against the Detroit Pistons a couple of times in the semifinals. Phil Jackson said, "We appreciate the fact that he is a maverick. He's different from the rest." Steve Kerr said, "What Dennis brought was exactly what we needed." Or in other words, exactly what we didn't have. So that's why he was so important in the team. Okay, in a moment in which he joined the team and he was really reluctant to train in the same way and with the same energy that the rest of the team, Phil Jackson invited him to join him at his office. When he was there, he realized that Dennis Rodman came from a Native American background or heritage, you know. So he had a necklace with him. Ponca Indians in Oklahoma built that necklace. So Phil Jackson realized that situation and took advantage of having the same background, because Phil Jackson he came from the same heritage and from the same background. He said, in their tradition, you would be a heyoka, which is a backward walking person. Okay? You will be the great heyoka in this tribe, he said. That was something crucial in this team. He was bizarre, in the words of Steve Kerr. But what made things work was the fact that Phil and Michael's understanding that to get the most out of him on the court, they had to give him some rope. And they gave him a lot of rope. He said, all we wanted was the same thing. We all wanted a championship. So they had the same purpose, the same goal. He was grateful for the fact that Michael and Scottie Pippen accepted him for who he was. Okay? So he won 7 consecutive championships as a rebounding champion in the NBA. And that was amazing. We require inclusive leaders. We require inclusive leaders to create agile teams. Diversity, my friends, leads to agility. Diversity leads to agility. So, if you are having a difficult time, if you are having a difficult moment in your company to reinvent yourself, if you want to change but you are struggling a lot now, remember that adversity is here to help you grow and reinvent yourself with agility. If you are not okay now and you are uncomfortable, then it is time to be reborn. It is time to start again. The pain and the suffering that you may experience is part of the process. Pain and suffering are necessary to become stronger and bigger. Just think about a butterfly. Before they become butterflies, they struggle a lot. It's due to the pain and suffering that they experience that they gain the strength to fly like a butterfly at the end. Okay? So, let's go back to Elizabeth Kubler-Ross' story. What are the greatest fears and what are the greatest regrets? So, she conducted an investigation around regrets as well. In a hospital, she interviewed 170 terminal patients about to die. And she asked them, what is your greatest regret? You will be surprised by this. 163 out of 170 terminal patients answered the same thing. The biggest regret is not to try because of fear, not to get married because of fear, not to get divorced because of fear, not to open their own business because of fear, not to reinvent their own business because of fear, not to live because of fear. Not to live because of fear. There are people waiting for you to shake off those fears. There are people waiting for you to see you winning the most important match of your life, the match against your own fears. They want to score these points with you. So, how do you feel now? What emotion are you experiencing now? Fear? No. No more fears. There are 7.5 billion people with fear now. That's enough. No more fears. What your family needs, what your country needs, what your company needs is not fear anymore. What they need heroes. They need heroes committed to their own purpose, committed to reinvent the business, decided to prevail at the end of this fight. Yes, we need heroes. Heroes are wanted. And let me tell you something. If you are the type of people reinventing your business, if you are still fighting after you lost everything, then you are that hero. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. My name is Jorge Rosas, and thank you very much to Smart Speakers. For more information, please contact them. I will be very happy to be with you very, very soon. Thank you so much for inviting me to this wonderful event. Thank you so much.
These dirty streets you learn to love. So welcome back, my long lost friend. You've been to hell and back again.